母親の旧姓がフェラーリのヒロです。今日はなんと世界的バイオリニストのバスコさんに来ていただきました。Hello。はじめまして。バスコです。バスコさん。こんにちは。こんにちは。Today I just wanna ask you about in general, what is violin?
I think the violin is the most close instrument to the voice.
To the voice, yeah.
Because, voice is the best, soprano. I think also because you put the violin so close to your heart, and the music always comes from the violin, from the heart. So, but the violin sound is really, intonation is the most difficult, because it's not like guitar, and the sound you make just has to be from the heart, like I said.
I never hear the violin so close.
You want to try?
No, it's too difficult.
Yes, and this violin is very, very old.
Yeah.
It was made in Genova, where Paganini was born.
Wow.
And it's made in 1708. I can buy with this violin maybe 4 or 5 Steinways.
I know, it's very, very expensive, old violins. Do you remember when you start playing violin?
I remember very well because both my parents are musicians. My mother was a pianist. My father was a violinist. So at that time, they asked me, what do you want to play? Violin or piano? They didn't give me much choice.
Two choices.
So I thought, well, my father is very cool with that, so I chose violin.
Okay. I think you're also early matured.
Yes, well, I started very early, but what was interesting is that my father was a violinist, he was teaching me, but he realized that the school in Bulgaria was not high enough standing. So I was sent by the Bulgarian president at the time, communist president, to study in Moscow. I was 11, and by that time I had done movies, I was very famous in Bulgaria, lots of concerts. And then she said, now forget concerts, forget everything, start from zero.
In that time you was a little bit having a hard time after the crisis of the Soviet.
Well, no, I was still in
the Soviet,
during the Soviet Union. In Moscow, life was very hard. My mother didn't have milk, so we had to get milk from the shop. And we had to queue for -20. For 2 hours to get milk, but I was a child. To me, I had friends. Yes, so when I was 18 years old, I went to study in London. At 18, I also won the Paganini competition in January. It was very interesting because I had to decide: do I want to be soloist or concertmaster, or what do I do? And partly I had a lot of problems with the visa because I was not allowed to stay in England.
Really?
Well, because I was Bulgarian, I couldn't get a visa to work.
Even if you very good music.
Well, eventually I got very lucky because there was a prime minister called Edward Heath in England at the time, who was very musical. He used to conduct also. So he heard me, and he helped me get a work permit in England. And then I decided, well, there's only that much violin repertoire. I wanted to explore different repertoire, ballet, opera. So I started being a concertmaster. In London Symphony, I met a Japanese conductor, and he doesn't speak Japanese, but Kent Nagano. So I went and did an audition. He liked me very much. And when I was 24, I got invited to join Covent Garden in London.
To be a concertmaster, I think it's very different from soloist. What do you think about this? You also have to communicate with the orchestra.
Well, to be a concertmaster is very complex. A lot of things. Plus, you're in the middle of the orchestra. You're leading the orchestra, and you have to communicate with the conductor, with the players. You have to have ears here, eyes here, and then suddenly you play a ballet, there's a big violin solo.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be as good as the soloist.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you have to be quite a good manager of people too.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of colleagues,
Mm-hmm.
100 people orchestra.
Which for me sounds very difficult to do that job with so young.
Yes.
Because all the orchestra is usually older than you.
Exactly. I think at the end, my teacher always said, you play one head higher, better than the others. They can pretend they didn't notice. But 3 heads, they cannot ignore you. So I found that at the end, if you play your solos fantastically, if you're very well prepared for your work, people, they actually respect you. And of course, when I was young, I made a lot of mistakes. But when people know that you are willing to learn and you're a quick learner, but you're playing really well, they forgive you. So I was honest. Well, I was playing with a colleague who has played maybe 300 times La Bohème. La Bohème is not so difficult to play, but Puccini is, all the time, stop, go, stop, go. Of course, I don't know it so well as him. Covent Garden, we're playing like morning ballet, evening opera. It's changing because we don't repeat more than 6 times an opera. So I had to learn. My first 3 months, I was doing the Wagner Ring, which is about 17 hours of music.
Yeah, I
18,
know.
something like that.
Yeah.
3 Mozart operas, Sleeping Beauty, Swan Lake, ballets, but all the ballet Tchaikovsky ballets.
That's too much.
And playing all the ballets Tchaikovsky is
Yeah.
basically Sleeping Beauty is like playing 3 symphonies by Tchaikovsky.
So you didn't have enough practice time? Or?
I was sight reading some of this, but I was always a very quick sight reader, so that saved my butt.
That's very important. Can you tell me more about the instrument itself?
First of all, people always talk about violins, but actually bows are very important too.
Bow.
So this bow is, all the best bows, they're generally French.
French?
Yes. So the best bows are always French. The best violins are
Italian. The bows is French.
Bows are French. And this is horsehair.
Yeah.
Horsehair is from Canada. Normally you change this hair every 2-3 months. It has to be changed. So these bows are very, very valuable. One tourte bow, for example, now would cost up to $200,000. You cannot touch the hair. The bow is special wood.
Special wood.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is a frock.
Yeah.
And the button. For example, this bow is 200 years old. It's Henri. Henri. And then the violin, all this is original. But the old violin, the Baroque violin, was different, was shorter.
The neck.
So the neck is changed. I played on Paganini's violin, which has inside a cross. And they were Jesuit. And it means by God side. And those violins are only 10 or 15. And they're very, very rare. Those violins now, they're like $15 million. And they were all made in Cremona. There is a little street, and they were all making violins. The most famous street. And so the violin has 4 strings.
Yeah.
Again, in the past, the strings were gut strings. But now we use metal strings because the gut strings, they are very capricious with the weather. They go out of tune.
Kind of aluminium or something?
This aluminium or
some mixed.
Yeah, mixed, yeah. This
is sometimes.
Yes, they can break during a performance too. Yes.
But you can still play, even if
well, there's a piece that I performed. It's called Moses Fantasy by Paganini, and the whole piece is on G string. So the whole piece is very famous. So this whole piece we go up. So this is all on G string. And the story is that some people were very jealous of Paganini.
Yeah.
and they before the concert they slightly cut the string. And when he started playing, one string went, second string went, and only this G string. And so he continued playing on G string. This piece called Moise is after the Rossini opera.
G string is the most stronger one.
Yes, they couldn't cut it. You see, it's the thickest.
How the sound is different from the strings? Is it
well,
higher?
It's basically 1/5. So this is the highest. E, A, La, Re, Sol. So this is like the bass, the lowest string. This is, for example, a Bach. And then Paganini made a lot of different techniques, like for example. And then Paganini invented a lot of things, because before Bach only you play only a melody, but Paganini did. So there are different techniques.
Wow, amazing. To
String together?
string together.
You can, of course.
You can? Oh.
Yes.
Two is maximum.
No, I can play 3. 4.
Wow. So you also
So you tune the violin
tune the violin.
from here. This is for the E string because it's more fine. So there's a little machine that pulls the strings.
You also challenged the pop music as well. What do you think the difference of the pop music and classic?
Well, I don't think there is a difference. I mean, you have good music, you have a good melody, and I mean, and you can play pop music, in a classical way too. I mean, like this song is a pop song, no? Japanese pop song. So, music is music. I mean,
Yeah.
Is it Mozart? It can be Mozart, it can be Paganini, it can be Shinji Tanimura, it can be Madonna, it can be ABBA.
Sounds like very voice. I mean,
That's what I said to you, that the violin is really the closest instrument
closest
to the
instrument
voice.
voice. Yeah.
That's the wonderful thing, that with the instrument that you can really travel. Because I can play you Japanese music, I can take you to Japan, but I can take you to Spain. I can take you to China. I can take you to America. So I can go anywhere. It's a universal language.
Nice. You also conductor as well, right? Like, as you said.
Yes, I do quite a lot of conducting.
Conducting, yeah.
But it's natural because I work with a lot of conductors. I've worked with, probably I'm lucky and fortunate. I've worked with the best conductors in the world. I think, Paganini used to conduct, Tchaikovsky conducted, Mozart did. It's the normal thing. When I work with very good musicians, it's like we don't even need to talk. It's like I work with a good cellist, and she can feel my breathing and playing. And also as a good musician, you know where is your solo, where you're accompanying. So that kind of thing, but that's the magic of making music with good players, very good players, but not only that they are good, but not selfish too. You have to know when to. I think in music the best is to talk less.
Yeah, talk less.
Talk less, that means it's better. My teacher said to me, I played 2 minutes, he said, go to the museum and watch those paintings by Monet, Manet, Degas, and then come back.
It's very sensitive.
Even, in fact, there was a violinist, very famous violinist in Russia. They say that when he played, you could smell even. That different smells. So of course you need to have the technique to express, but if you don't have the knowledge and the feeling, it's nothing. It's just sound.
By the way, technique is very important, right? How to get so...
A lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work, of course.
8 hours a day from 7 years old until 16, everyday practice. How do you become the best tennis player or the best golf player? Same, from young. When I came to Russia, my teacher said, if you came 6 months later, it would be too late.
Wow.
Because these things, you have to be a child, how it's forming, the technique is forming once you're still young. When you're 20 years old, it's impossible to, once the body is big, it's impossible to catch up, Of course it's possible to study as an amateur, and people should do it, it's fun. But to go on the highest level, you have to start from young.
Vivaldi is, I think it's the most oldest composer, which is very famous in the world.
But I love Vivaldi, Four Seasons. Of course I play a lot. One of my favorite Vivaldis is this movement. This movement talks about we are all together at Christmas time with the fire and eating our Christmas dinner or something like that.
Nice. The Vivaldi is also have the story in that song.
Well, he's the first composer that actually did story music. In the winter he has this for example. This is supposed to be when you're cold and your teeth are going. Yes, and so on. Or you have the storm. Or you have the birds singing. These are the birds, and so it's very clever. I always wanted to make a story, like a concert with a story about him, because he was such an interesting man. But so little people don't know a lot about him. It's very little information. And he had an orchestra made from nuns, and they were playing behind it. In that time, they were not allowed to show their faces, so they were playing behind the wall.
What do you think about Paganini? Is more like technique stuff?
I think Paganini is not, of course, technique, but basically he was a big showman. And Rossini said, we are lucky that Paganini is not writing operas, otherwise he would be very successful. He's not as deep as Beethoven or as these composers, because, like I said, he was a showman. So he wrote mainly for himself, and he mainly played his music. So while I like his music, the older I get, the less I'm interested in playing it. And it's nice for the young people to do. Of course, he inspired with Paganini this theme. This Rachmaninoff wrote, very famous concerto. Liszt wrote, Campanella. This was Paganini, original. So he inspired so many composers. I think if Paganini lived a little bit longer and he did fantasy on Puccini, Verdi, it would have been fantastic, but he was younger, so he only did Rossini, not the so popular operas like now.
Let's do this, the last question. What is violin for you?
Everything.
Everything.
I mean, I think if I don't play the violin 1 or 2 days, I feel guilty.
You never stop playing?
I do, but even though I still feel guilty that because violin is like sports, you have to keep practicing. But you know, without the violin, I would not be here in Japan. Without the violin, I would have never visited so many countries. Without the violin, I would have never had so many friends or enjoyment of different cultures. So, thank you.
This pandemic has any changes for you?
When the pandemic started, I was in Spain, in Valencia, and then suddenly all concerts, everything got cancelled, and I had a very good bottle of Okinawa gin at home.
That's nice.
So I started drinking it. I finished it in 3 days.
Nothing to do. Drink. Oh, that's nice.
And then I got worried because I was only drinking gin without tonic. I couldn't buy tonic. So I made a studio at home. I made a studio and I started doing a lot of recordings, a lot of videos. And that period is probably the most creative period in my life. I made 6 CDs. Wow. Spain was very strict. We could only go out half an hour in the morning.
Wow.
You could only walk outside if you had a dog. But it's very funny because all the dogs in Spain got so much trouble because all the families were taking, everybody was taking the dog out. The dogs were
Dogs is tired.
the
Dogs is like, oh,
I don't want to go out.
This is what times. That's fun. Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, very nice interview.